beautiful. I deliberately have not gone into thought or space around this, only because I kind of felt like there was a lot of sitting there just waiting to be observed, but we needed to have some observers to this, and also would just start running immediately, and I wanted to do it in this space and not when I was making a cup of tea or something like that, which is what tends to happen. So yeah. And my agenda, as I've said before, is to come into this just with as clear senses as I possibly can, as unfiltered as I possibly can, as neutral as I possibly can.
Love-filled as we possibly can.
Yeah, and
there's no judgment.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, like, it really feels for me, and we each kind of have our own words around this, but anchoring into or grounding into the consciousness of love, like the universal consciousness of love, not somebody else's idea of it or whatever, but the universal consciousness of love will give us just exactly what we need to see. Now, it could be a little bit similar to the way that these, or it might not be, family matrix sessions that started at the start of the year, I think it was, or maybe it was the end of last year, and we did one because we needed to do that, and Innate said, hey, let's get together and do that, and then there was another two that we needed to do after that. So I'm anticipating it will be part exploratory, observing, kind of wound up in the session. We'll tap it in and we'll see what's next, if anything at all. All right? Hey, so I'm going to just jump into Mindscape. We have a preparation link coming up before we start observing and so forth, and it's around the concept of being able to see clearly. So when I come into my Mindscape workshop, there is water all through my workshop. In fact, I'm standing in water, but when I look down, it's clear, like crystal clear. And I can see all the way down through the water. So there's a sense of sight linking to all water element energies, not just within my physical body, but also water element energies at the level of the soul, the spirit, the mind, and then us as a collective, obviously. So we all have that balance within us, and then we connect to each other and join in the overall same, it's the same formula that needs to be balanced for the entire My Incredible Orbit community as well. And that's because we don't have some people here live, so it needs to run for everyone. And we're balancing a consciousness, and it is clear-sightedness, to be able to see clearly. It anchors to individuation. So let's go ahead and we'll tap this in. Yes, cleansing, purifying, magnifying. That water is so important. Like Innate already says, it's got so much more meaning. Using the water consciousness is so powerful. It's great at being able to cleanse. It's great at being able to move things along, to create flow, to give things a bit of a move on that have been stagnant or a bit stuck. So that's, the water presence is definitely there. The priority is to invite into my Mindscape workshop the most appropriate person to help deliver the information that we need to see and hear today. It's a woman that comes in. Remember, this is like, she'll be an archetypal quality. So it's a woman that comes in. Yeah, she's in like her late 20s, early 30s, but she brings this softness. She's got this, it's almost like a consciousness of softness that is the first priority that we need to observe around all of this. So there is a lot of matrix energy surrounding these topics that is harsh, that is hard, that is prickly, that is invasive, that is projected, that is, the word that comes up is spineless. So part of her coming in is bringing us into this space of softness, to detach from all of that. Because you know yourself, when you just, I had a massage earlier and I was just, it was a great massage, and I was thinking how soft I feel, literally. And I feel so different approaching anything work or business wise, or even to do with the house or being a mum, just feels different this afternoon, coming into this space of softness, and what it did at 10 o'clock in the morning, I tell you that right now. So it's bringing in this consciousness of softness, and how when we're softer, we see things differently, we experience things differently, we even notice things that perhaps we weren't noticing when we weren't soft. So what would be the opposite of softness? Would be fear, would be reacting, would be even anger, worry, anything like that. All right, so we have softness. Interesting, it's a feminine energy that comes in, late 20s to early 30s.
What house is that, Jax?
Yeah, I was actually just wondering that, because it feels like it's kind of got some, not only house energy, but kind of chakra development energy in there as well. So I think from memory, it's about the, ooh, 6th or 7th, but I actually am not 100% sure on that. It's coming up more associated with the 7th, which is got to do with partnerships and relationships. It's also governed by Venus, which is harmony, harmony and order, affection, need for social activity.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's also bladder, water, nervous system.
Yep.
Yeah, seventh house. Yeah. The first thing she draws our attention to is, and we've done a tiny bit of colour therapy in the past, with one of the courses that in there, but it's colour therapy, and it's going to be green. She draws our attention to the colour green, but it's the green of nature. It's all the different hues and shades of green that you find outside on the planet. So we have green and we're looking at the psychology of green, we have nature. It's almost like she's pointing out some resources, things to focus on now and moving forward into the future. With green, there is a consciousness of expression that comes up here. And innate is wanting to not only remind us, but get us to question our expression in relation to the injections. So our personal expressions in relation to the injections. So they'll be the expressions that you have towards yourself, and more so towards yourself. But it is also expressions outwardly about the injections. And what we're calling into question here is, what are the primary expressions? If it's got a bit of fear in there, if it's got a bit of concern, terror, worry doesn't come up here. Fear, concern, terror. It's there's also an expression of, it's interesting because I think it's going to relate to a particular part of the body-mind complex, but it's an expression of over-exaggeration. And it's going to be an over-exaggeration of hypothalamic and hypothalamic nuclei and amygdala reactions. It's like they're both in together, the reactions of those two. So we're just going to kind of leave the area of the hypothalamus and the amygdala. They're getting reacted by something. There's a outside influence impacting them, but we're just going to leave it there to the side for the moment, right? We'll come back to that. It's got to process it and we need to observe something else before we can come back to that. Okay. Time in nature, one of the biggest things to focus on moving forward. When you go into nature, do bare feet as much as you can. For many different reasons. It's your own Wei Qi connecting with the Earth's Wei Qi, very powerful. It's your own biofield connecting with the Earth's biofield. But also this process that you're in, that we're all in, is both changing and catapulting and upgrading you in amazingly wonderful and beautiful ways. And at the same time, it's also creating stress and some toxicity, and that will be different for everybody, how that's unfolding. So the other thing that's coming up here is that by being in nature, by going bare feet and spending as much time as you can in nature, that it decompresses the nervous system, helps regulate it, helps remove free radicals from the entire body system. And that duo of hypothalamus and amygdala, it's like they take a couple steps forward into their natural consciousness, expression, and functioning. So that, I mean, there is a whole host of other things, like lists of other things that are happening when you're in nature. The more untouched the nature, the more you can get access to trees, rock formations, running waters, all those kinds of things. Brilliant. But it doesn't only have to be that. It can be the ocean, it can be sitting by a river, whatever you get drawn to do. But it's also really important that you are gravitating towards where you're drawn to be. It is going to have to be something that you consciously put effort into doing, because it's going to be needed quite regularly. It is now officially part of our healthcare protocol. Nature being the supporter and vice versa. Because remember, when we go into nature, we're helping exchange information and imprinting what's going on in the human consciousness in nature, and the consciousness of nature is also helping us to evolve and move through what it is that we're moving through. So there's that. There's going to be one more that it's interesting, salt. So salt is a grounder, salt for like being a good conductor of your own energies, of your own body-mind stability. It's not taking in abnormal amounts of salt. Obviously, we wouldn't want to do that for sodium issues and other reasons, but making sure that those yes, that those levels coming in through nutrition and so forth are what they need to be, so that you're getting enough salt in through your foods and so forth. But you can also do salt as therapies. You can put your feet in salt baths or even magnesium baths. We've got salt, Himalayan salt rooms here, which are divine to go be in, and that kind of thing. So salt is coming up as a major a stabilizer. That's what's really coming up. One of its assets is as a stabilizer for you. Everyone will need their own different quantities of salts, and that is going to change depending on what your age is, or what your families, your kids' age are, what their current requirements are, what their emotional well-being is, where they are at in their cycle, whether it's hot climate, cold climate. So it's not going to be any good doing the salt intake and sticking to it the same for everybody and the same every single day. That needs to be an intuitive process, a real kind of gut-driven process. So encouraging people to really follow their gut instincts on how they intake that, or in what levels they intake that, will be a really good thing. Okay, so salt, okay. With the nature, and I know I probably don't need to say this, but the trees are coming up as a huge resource. Like, you could sit with a tree and share your thoughts with the tree. You could share your concerns with the tree. You could ask for power from a tree, especially if it's, you know, the trees in the forest or the bushland, the trees that haven't been planted, you know, in rows by man. Those trees have really incredible wisdom. But remember that trees don't have much separation consciousness. Well, I wouldn't even describe it as a separation consciousness. You can interact with an individual consciousness of a tree, but they don't perceive themselves as separation or individual consciousness. They really are the collective consciousness of all trees and all nature. So when you sit with tree, and if you do have an exchange with tree, there's so much information coming in. Know that you're actually joined into the entire grid, the entire planet, all trees, all the land. Think about all the roots that travel and travel for just thousands and thousands of kilometers and web all over the planet, deeply, deeply, that have that groundedness, that connectedness, that big tap roots that they send down, some of them. Yep. Okay. No further details to that. All right. So let's see our directions getting just changed a bit here. So now we're looking at blood, quality of blood. Actually, it's quality and quantity. This is being affected in people. Tapping out cortices to the heart can help regulate the blood as a system, the blood consciousness, and the quality and the quantity of the blood. This is coming up as a major issue with people who have received these vaccinations, and it's not just one of them, it's actually all of them. And what I hear is, and I don't really understand this, but it's like the injections leave a calling card, and this is one of their calling cards, is major disruption to the blood field, the field of blood. So everything that makes up the blood field, and smaller things going on in the blood that affects quality and quantity massively, like depletion, massive depletion. In some people, and this is why it shows up for me, is it's almost like they get drained of blood. So cortices to the heart to represent the blood. It would really be great for you individually if you could, because we're going to do two parts to this. We're going to get you first to initiate it yourself, where you'll tap out the whole cortices technique with the intention that it is linked to the heart as an organ and the heart brain. And our intention and focus is on the health and the vibrancy and the vitality and the natural consciousness and the great quality and the great quantity of blood. That's your intention. So you could tap out cortices to the heart once a day. If it's in the first part of the day, it looks like it's better, it's more effective. And if you do that every day for a period of 3 weeks, So morning before PM sets in, 3 weeks, it establishes itself. If it's done daily for 3 weeks, it establishes itself as a pattern. Then we get the priority from innate to set that up as a circulation plug-in. Cortices to the heart as a circulation plug-in. But without your involvement in this, you doing this every day for 3 weeks, we don't get permissions to set it up for you individually as a circulation plug-in. It's almost like innate is saying, you got to show up for yourself. If you want, oh, sorry, Christine said, if you want this, you got to show up for yourself. That's what it's saying. So, hello, Christine, darling. You'll see the replay in the first little bits that we've done. So it's all good, but I'm glad you're here. Erin says cleansing, purifying, not to mention the knowledge of the ancients. Absolutely. The wisdom that is there in not just all of nature, but especially those trees. Holy cow. And that was one of the pieces that was coming in, but I couldn't quite capture it and see it so quickly, is that if you give yourself the chance to go into nature as much as you can, and this is not a short-term thing, this is like the next 7 or 8 years at least, where you're really going to have to make a concerted effort. I'm going to have to make a concerted effort. How am I going to get my backside into nature as much as I can? And you've just got to carve out the time. But use it also, it's not a chore. It's exploring time. It's time to be curious and spontaneous and go hug a tree. And as Erin has said, the potential downloads of information, the potential intuitive knowing or sense of things that you can get through from trees is unbelievable. I've seen some off the planet stuff with trees that I've been meaning to share for such a long time, but they are incredible at not only sharing wisdom, but they're also phenomenal at being able to take from you what you don't need, what you don't want, what's toxic to you that you're ready to offload, or any of that. You just kind of offer it up and say, can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? And they will take it on for you. You can actually sometimes physically feel that, like it's like a vaxxus where they've just taken it off you, right? So if you're going to go into nature, be prepared sometimes to just go sit with your back up against a tree and close your eyes and breathe deeply and ask the tree, what do I need to see? What do you want to show me? What do I need to know? What can I learn today to carry forward with me? Might be something about you, might be something that you can share into the group for all of us, right? I would love to hear that. So the wisdom that comes through from those guys is phenomenal. And likewise with the actual area of earth that you're standing on, it could be minerals underneath your feet, the body of water that you are standing in or that you are sitting beside. It's exactly the same concept. The wisdom that is there is unreal, right? They share with every other tree via their root systems, absolutely, and the microbes of the earth. Yes, exactly. Targeting the joy levels, yes, absolutely. Yeah, so this is being recorded and it will just go into the normal session playlist, so you'll be able to watch it tomorrow morning. All right, so we're going to be doing cortices linked to the heart every morning before lunch for a period of 3 weeks. And then the priority is, so we're setting it up now, but it will activate in 3 weeks' time. So tomorrow, Innate is saying tomorrow could be the first day, and that'll be the 16th of June. And that's 1, 2, 3. So 3 weeks will be the 7th of July. I just put in my calendar for 22 days. Awesome. Oh, yeah, about the trees. Yeah, okay then, Christine, cool. So 7th of July. It actually will be the 8th of July is the priority, where we have a plug-in of cortices to the heart to run daily. And it's going to be a particular time of the morning. Let's see. It's actually going to be large intestine time. It's an interesting time. So that's 5 to 7 a.m. Large intestine time. That's for a period of 3 weeks. Starting to see a 333 thing come up here. And then it shifts to later in the morning to heart time. Surprise, surprise. And then the plug-in shifts, it'll run morning in the first half of heart meridian time, which is 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So then it will do another 3 weeks in heart time, at which point we will reassess that. So we will be doing a reassessment of that plug-in at what time? So we've got 3 weeks to the 7th, and then we've got 3 weeks, 1, 2, 3 is the 28th for large intestine. And then we have another 1, 2, 3 weeks for heart, where that formula runs through in heart time. And that'll be the 18th of August. So we need a review of this plugin on the 19th of August. Ripper. Okay. No further details to that. Now, we're coming to the crystalline structure in the body, kind of presented like crystal kind of diamond, and there was this consciousness of the diamond coming up and how strong it is, but also how clear it is. And remember, we started off this exploration with clarity of eyesight, clarity of being able to see clearly. So we have the idea of strength, like, and it's not just any old strength, it's fortitude. It's strength that has gone through fortitude. And it's clarity, but it's clarity that relates to all the 5 senses of hearing, sight, smell, taste, and touch. And this is what we are focusing on in the crystalline structure, the crystalline part of the body. It is this strength and fortitude that we're amplifying it. Like it's, innate says it's a natural consciousness anyway, but for majority of people, it's very inactive, similar to Kundalini, I would say, definitely. Kundalini, and that's another one that's coming up for me. So we have the crystalline structure and Kundalini, both naturally occurring formations in the body, systems. And Kundalini. But both real lack of awareness around them, because heaven forbid that you should be aware of you know, your own strength and the body's own healing abilities. And that is one of the phenomenal aspects that is massively downplayed, not tapped into, and really, really under-resourced with these two systems, is their ability to strengthen you on a whim when you need it. Just in the moment of a breath when you need it, is strengthen you. Physically, emotionally, mentally, however it is that you need it. To fortify you, but also provide fortification. I know I'm recording this, but I feel like I need to write down part of it just to help integrate it. So I'm doing that. And we're going to do a link between the entire crystalline structure of your body and the Kundalini system. And now we're focusing on healing. Immediate responses to healing that's needed at any level of your awareness or physicality. Crystalline structure and Kundalini. We actually need to explore these. We need to do a second exploratory session together, and we are going to open the lid on these and find them out more, because innate says the power is in the knowing. When you come to know who you are, how you work, what you've got access to, what you can tap into, what you can turn on just through sheer intention, then I don't even know how to put that in words. You're just, you're sovereign, you're powerful, you're all-knowing, you're a force to be reckoned with, you're in control, you're in charge of what happens and how it happens. You have control over your healing. Oh, that's a declaration that's coming up. For today, I control my own healing. I control my own healing. And we'll work with that same declaration when we do a follow-up exploring session. And that exploring session, as I said, will be based around understanding the crystalline structure better and the Kundalini system. Be aware that because we are going to be discussing and opening up structures of our sentience that has been convinced and ordered and manipulated to, you know, lie down and sleep and be inactive, and for us to really not know a lot about them, is that they'll wake up, they'll go through a big activation process, and that can be strong energy. That can vibrate through your body. You can have shaking, you can have a spontaneous healing that happens, you can have a spontaneous orgasm, and I don't think any of you would like not want to have that. Maybe just depends where you are, I suppose. Spontaneous insight into areas of your life, yourself, what's going on. A lot of the door was closed, the door is open, and really aware of the door is open. So I'm so excited about that. Okay. In the meantime, what Innate would like us to do is do some work with these two aspects of self and do some preparation work for the next time that we meet together. So let's look at the crystalline structure. Again, this concept of as strong as a diamond, as hard as a diamond, as fortitude as a diamond. Remember, the idea is that diamonds are formed under pressure. When you're going into environments with people, when you're having conversations with people, when you're just dealing with day-to-day things at the moment, there can be pressure in those environments. You can be experiencing pressure. Often it's something you've got no control over. So if we've got this crystalline structure that says, I am amazing under pressure. I am crystal clear under pressure. I am strong. I am fortitude. I am resilient. I'm sure-footed under pressure. Then that's going to stand you in really good stead when you have to go into these experiences. Your focus reverts to the crystalline structure. And if you want to, it can be so helpful to build a visual process of what the crystalline structure looks like throughout the body. It runs all through the body. You can visualize it however that it is meaningful to you. I don't want to kind of implant any ideas around that. There are some visual processes online that you can tap into if you want to, or you might just find that visualizing one for yourself feels right. You've already got this system. It's not something that you have to get, like we're not trying to manifest it. It's manifested. You've already got it. So just your switch in awareness to the crystalline structure and its consciousness, which is what we've already talked about, is enough that it brings this strength and this fortification through and amplifies it. It's like turning up the volume so that you can go anywhere, do anything, speak anything with that system at full function, protecting you, fortifying you, keeping you strong. Now, I do get a sense, and it would be interesting to see how this shows up for you. I wouldn't mind some feedback. I'll definitely gauge it myself. But Innate says you literally can amplify it, but you can turn it down. You can strengthen it, you can turn it down. So you might be going into scenarios, and I'm thinking about, particularly with what Sharon said about going into environments with clients that have had injections and so forth. You can set the intention while you're in the car. Just take a few big deep breaths, come into that crystalline structure, turn your volume all the way up to high and feel that strength, the fortification, the crystal clearness, and it resonates all through your body, all through it. And then you can go into the environment, have your exchanges, do what you have to do, and then leave. And then at some point when you leave, Innate says you're going to want to bring it back down and re-regulate it, right? And it's the same concept of the switching reflex with that switching mechanism. We're just looking for what is your ideal threshold. So in relation to the Kundalini, in relation to the crystalline structure, when you adjust the amplification of that, the intention is we're just going back down to what is the ideal threshold for me right now. What is it for me? And the other thing that Innate says that is very beneficial from doing this is that the more often you do it, the more skilled you become at really knowing this system, at being able to use it. Hi, Zeus. Being able to use it to your benefit. Do you want to come up? use it to your benefit as often and as easily as you want, so you'll get skilled in that way. Do you want to come up? No? Let's go to the Kundalini system, and there's preparation here too, particularly branches that go from the bottom of the Kundalini system in the body and branch out to the kidney on the right hand side. This is happening because your innate wisdom, all of our innate wisdom, is trying to get much better access into the feminine consciousness, the feminine archetypal qualities, feminine intuition, and not that intuition is feminine or masculine, but the feminine aspect of intuition and instincts. It's and the word specifically that come up is the feminine rising. So there is a rehab on the right lower branch of the Kundalini out to the kidney adrenal for repair of the feminine matrix and the feminine consciousness archetypal qualities feminine rising that I just mentioned. No further details to that. Let's bring absolutely everything together that we've observed so far, and then we'll go ahead and tap this in, and we'll see if there's anything else that we need to observe. Can you share it with others? Yeah, absolutely. I will actually put, yeah, you can come up. Come on. I will put a copy of this video in the playlist for the sessions, and I also will put a copy of the video in the free public sessions for free public sessions. All right, what else do we have to do? Are you coming to help, or you just have hungry belly, you reckoned? You're coming to help a little bit. Two birds with one stone. I'm hungry, but I can also help. Wei Qi is one of the most wonderful systems that we have. And again, it's, thank you, something that we should really be working better at protecting. So remember, the Wei Qi runs around all the outside of our body and all through the body, particularly in through the mouth, the nose, the ears, all through the digestive system, all up through the reproductive system and the urinary tract system. But really, you can find Wei Qi wherever you go throughout the body. Wei Qi is protective. He has a great Wei Qi. It's protective, it's defensive, but not in an unhealthy way, in a I'm to be respected, I'm sovereign, and if you don't respect that, then, you know, this is a no-go zone, that kind of way. Has healthy boundaries. It creates a separation between what's not meant to come in and what does need to come into you. So this is not only a repair, and I don't think we're going to get to do a full repair, but there will be things that you can do to help with the repair as well. A little bit hard in winter because we tend to wear a lot of things, and we're sometimes in environments that disrupt the Wei Qi, harm the Wei Qi. So it can be even more of a challenging task to try and make the Wei Qi really robust and healthy. Also, that Wei Qi is really important things. That was a mouthful of tail. Really important for the process of discernment, being able to discern out what's appropriate for me, what's right for me, what I do need to take on, what I don't need to take on. So big connections to the gut brain, big connections to the gallbladder meridian, the lungs, the respiratory system, all your diaphragms. Did I mention the digestive system? All of that, all your reproductive system, all your urinary tract system. So let's rattle off a ton of things. Do you have any awareness of where your tail is? Let's rattle off a ton of things of what can support the Wei Qi and help keep the Wei Qi really strong. Our belief systems have a profound effect on Wei Qi. So first and foremost, checking in with your beliefs and your attitudes and your behaviors around having healthy boundaries. Really having healthy boundaries and respecting yourself, respecting others. This concept has been coming up a lot lately, and I wrote an article about it a few years ago. But when things come to you, especially information, other people's opinions, ideas, let them, I've got in my imagination, I've got a table that sits in front of me like what Zeus is on now, and everything that gets offered to me in the way of opinions, ideas, beliefs, energies, emotions, whatever, they all come sit on this table. This is where they rest. It's the joining of all the animals. Look, Zeus, who's that? Says, I don't care a bit. Don't get me to look in the camera. He says, I will not look in a camera. Yeah, so what was I saying? Distracted me with the animals, you animals. My intention is that everything comes and rests on my table. I don't take it in. In fact, I'm so aware of when I take things on and take them in now because of the response in my body and also how I feel in my mind and so forth. So then it's quite easy for me at times to be able to go, oh my gosh, like that table has just disappeared from my intentions and things have been coming in rather than falling on the table. So this table, yes, it's a metaphor, but it's such a strong structured part of my belief systems that it's actually set up. It has a form and function for me that works brilliantly, and it is an integral part of my Wei Qi system. So everything comes and sits on this table. It's placed in front of me, and then when I'm ready, I get to sort through everything that's on my table. That person's idea about that, the opinion that came through on that, the emotions that I saw this morning, all of that sits there, and then I get to choose what I interact with, how I interact with it, how long I do that, what I decide to look into deeper, what I see as being really valuable or perhaps has some wisdom in it, and then it's my decision. I'm going to integrate that further. I'm going to take it on because there's something in that for me. So that Wei Qi system really helps me to form a healthy boundary between that, what's there, and also, yes, that link to the table can be your boundary fence from a previous session, and that will be the boundary fence that we were observing when we were a house. When we became the house, we shape-shifted with a house, and as a house, we look out around us and we saw this fence, and we came down through the house, we came down to the front door, we opened the front door, we went out through the front door, and we went and looked at the fence. We touched the fence, we smelt the fence, we listened to the fence. We went all around the fence, all around the entire boundary line, the perimeter line, and I still have got this set up for me. So I just have multiple different tools that I use. Sometimes it's a table, or I always have the table in active going, but I also have the fence right? And this fence is made out of anything that you want it to be that resonates with you. Everybody in the group got something different when we did this. For some it was rocks, for some it was like woven branches and so forth. It can be anything, it can be a multitude of things. But the idea is that nothing gets through this fence or over this fence without your say-so. It is both beautiful and soft and protective, but it's also something that you need to maintain. So what we had coming up as priority from innate every session through that series, and then a few series of sessions afterwards, innate would remind us and say, have you been back to check your fence? Have you become the house? Because, you know, we are a house, we house so much. And are you doing the maintenance on the fence? Because in reality, there are things always in consciousness, in reality, that test that fence, that push against the fence. So you could pop into your house, shape shift, become the house, see the fence from the perspective of the house, and then you come down through the house like you become the smaller version of yourself, open your front door, come out, and you go around checking your fence. And it's so interesting to see if there are any areas of the fence that have become weakened or it needs repair, or you just get this sense that you need to make the fence out of something different in this section, or you need to make it smaller in this section, bigger in this section, whatever. But that fence is the representation of your Wei Qi system, and that is your way of being able to work with it directly and instantaneously. And we're going to do very strong connections between your Wei Qi system, or your fence, your table, whatever it is that you want to use, and you can use all of them. And we need to build connections to your kidneys. And we're balancing the natural consciousness of the kidneys, which is willpower, and it's courage, and it's strength, sexuality and sensuality, which are critically important consciousness right now. So there's been some really, really interesting things come up. It's more like innate's kind of directing us to look right now at tools and resources, things that we can do that is going to massively be of support, to strengthen, to harmonize you right now. And then it wouldn't surprise me when we get together again and explore the crystalline structure and the Kundalini systems, if innate starts kind of opening packages of information to show us what's going on around the current times and the injections or the consciousness behind it or whatever. So innate is like, first, let's stabilize you. Let's give you tools, resources, help you feel a lot stronger so that you can do what you need to do. Then let's journey and really, you know, kind of open up different areas. Now, do you guys have anything you want to add? Do you have your own things that came up? Do you want to talk about anything? Yeah, I'll make a copy of this and I will put it into a separate folder. So I'll put it into a separate folder on YouTube playlist, and it will be the free matrix sessions. And then I'll share that so that you guys can share it out to the wider community. But if I put it into our playlist one, then I can't share it publicly. Okay, now let's see when our next follow-up is going to be. It's going to be in 2 weeks' time, but we need to do that. Let's see, Zeus, you're sitting on my mouse. Can somebody tell me what 2 weeks, what dates we have in 2 weeks' time? Actually, maybe I can retrieve my mouse underneath it.
So the 29th is Tuesday in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, let's do that. and we'll do it at the same time, if that's okay. Does that work with everyone else as well at this point in time? Christine might be a little bit late, but you can jump in when you finish work and catch the first half of the recording. Beautiful. Okay, then. So our next follow-up session will be the 29th, and we'll do it at 5:30 p.m. Just observe what happens over the next couple of weeks. I'll put the homework into the group so that we can remember what our objectives are for the next little while. And any observations, questions, points that you want to specifically talk about or ask our innate wisdoms to bring forward, we'll do that in our next exploring session, okay?
Hey, this has been so incredibly aligned with a session that I had today with Neil on his machine for those cells in my vaginal area that have been rather invasive, and everything that's come up with that. And it's about, part of that was about taking back my power. And see, there's aspects of it that I felt really strongly. I never ruled out medical intervention. I was still really open to that, but I just had the feeling that it wasn't the right thing to do, and that my body has got the ability to uncreate what it had created. And today's session was actually all about that, understanding why it had created what it did, and that whole tied in with the bully abuse and what's going on globally, but that taking my power back. And that, and already I'd noticed, like over the last couple of weeks with conversations that we've had and the work that I've been doing myself, I'd noticed changes in the one polyp that I could actually really see. And it was just incredible. And then this on top of that is just that reconfirming the power that we have in our own bodies and not to give it away.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, the crossovers with the information coming through is going to be interesting, and it's going to be quite revealing sometimes, because it's just going to be reaffirming, because innate looking for ways to keep bringing that up and address it, so that, you know, we get the repair that we're looking for.
Yeah. And I mean, these cells have just been trying to do, well, they've been responsible, and they've been trying to do a job on their own, and being in the isolation of the whole. Now they've got the support of the whole, they can, it's
Exactly.
just been an incredible process. So yeah.
Yeah.
But like perfect timing, perfect information, watching the space with incredible interest, and looking forward to the next 21 days with this, setting up this cortices and heart link. Yeah.
Thanks for saying that again, because I was just about to say that. Really, really important that we don't forget to do that. And I can tend to forget that stuff, so I'm just going to set a daily reminder on my phone to go off, so that it reminds me to do that.
Yeah, and I've set mine to go off about 11 o'clock each morning. I think because that comes the start of heart meridian, isn't it?
Yep.
And that, so, but I'm setting the intention that every morning at 11 o'clock, I'm going to do the cortices to the heart link. If by some chance I've got a client or I'm doing something or whatever, and I don't get to actually physically do it then, whenever I get to do it will be, it'll be taking it back to that specific time.
It will take it back. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So Christine, one of the pieces that you kind of popped in a little bit after, and I will put this information into our group, is that there is a link that we need to do for ourselves, which is tapping out the cortices technique, and it's linked to the heart. And so that's your intention, is that when you're tapping out cortices, it's the cortices linking to the heart. And we're to do that at some point before kind of midday every day for a period of 3 weeks. And we'll reassess that as we go along. Okay. But I'll put the full, what's happening with that, I'll put the full, guidelines into the group. All right. And we'll see how we go. Cool. I'm excited about this. Really glad that we're doing it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
great
you
evening.
so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
It's always amazing to do it with you guys.
super juicy.
And our animal friends, thank you so much. Have a great night, guys.
Alrighty,
Bye.
catch you on the other side.
Bye.